All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting of the City of Waterville Planning Board to order. Today is June 9th. Please be advised this meeting is being recorded and broadcast. This is a public meeting of the Planning Board, and we welcome members of the public who are here to observe or participate in tonight's proceedings. The Planning Board is responsible for reviewing applications related to site plans, subdivisions, and other development matters in accordance with the city's ordinances and comprehensive plan. Our role is to apply those standards fairly and consistently in the interest of the community. This evening's agenda includes 3 items for review, although we're going to be postponing one of them. We do have the posted agenda online. I think Ann has some copies, maybe as well. We will be providing opportunities for public comment at appropriate times. For those who do wish to speak tonight, we ask that you state your name and address for the record and direct your comments to the board. We ask that all comments remain respectful, relevant to the item under consideration, and with any time limits that may be set at my discretion. Board members will have the opportunity to ask questions of the developers during their presentation and deliberate following presentations and public input. The first item on our agenda is approval of minutes. We have the April 28th and May 26th Planning Board meetings. We are going to do them separately. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the April 28th meeting?
I'll make the motion to approve the April 28th minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? And now the May 26th meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the May 26th meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All right. Some of you may not have been here. So all those in favor? And any abstentions on that? No? Okay. The next item is disclosure of conflict of interest. I'll ask if any board member has a conflict of interest or any ex-party contact with concerned parties to disclose. All right. So the first item for review is Camber Development, requesting preliminary and final review for a 159,000 square foot Amazon distribution center to be constructed at 301 Junction Road. This review is being conducted.
Did you do the postcard?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Can I get a motion to take the agenda out of order and do the Inland Hospital one first?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Fantastic. Sorry for going out of order. So Inland Commercial Center LLC is requesting rezoning of a number of parcels, and they've asked that to be postponed to a date certain. They've asked for July 28th planning board meeting. So if we could get a motion to postpone that to July 28th.
I'll make the motion to postpone until July 28th.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, now the Camber Development. So this review is being conducted under Articles 8 and 9 of the Site Plan Review Ordinance. So
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Great to be here again. My name is Jonathan Greeley. I lead economic development for Amazon in New England. Before the team gets into the presentation, I just want to thank you for having us. We've been working really hard with staff at both the city and state level to make this the best possible proposal for Waterville. Once again, Amazon's goal here is to find better ways to serve our existing customers. We have a lot of them in Maine. And the goal with this facility and several others that we're working on simultaneously is thinking about how do we best serve those customers, bringing that kind of quality of care and service that you'd get in a large metropolitan area to more small cities and towns across the country. And so we're happy to be doing that. Again, we also feel like we're calling on a long history of development for this or aspirational development for the site and thinking about kind of industrial use that can kind of meet the economic development needs for the city. We're thrilled to be part of that. And then I'll reiterate what I always say in these types of meetings is that for us, a site search is a three-legged stool. It's thinking about, can the land do what we need it to do? Check. Is there the kind of the human talent that can help us make this happen? Check. And then most importantly, who's on the other side of the table? And we've been really pleased, again, at the city and state level, the kind of the conversations we've been having to kind of make sure this is a project that fits within the context, both big and small, for the area and the city. And so we're thrilled to be talking about that tonight. I'll be here to answer any specific questions about the proposal or Amazon throughout the evening and the presentation. But with that, I'll kind of turn over to VHB to continue the dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, members of the board, for having us this evening to go through the proposal. I've got a number of folks behind me here that can also answer questions. I'll give you a little background as to my background. I'm Dave Cenas with VHB. I'm a civil engineer, deal with site development projects, stormwater, grading, utilities, but I also have a traffic engineer here today, Jason Reddy with VHB, one of my colleagues, and then Sean Hale is a wetland scientist with VHB, so another one of my colleagues to be able to answer any questions that you might have that are specific. But I'm going to be the one to walk through the presentation tonight. Certainly stop me at any point and ask questions, and then we'll obviously also be available for questions as we conclude. So we've gone through a version of this presentation before, and I'm not going to dwell on anything too specifically unless you have questions, but I will walk through each thing because members of the public might be the first time that they see this. The project team, as Jonathan mentioned, he's with Amazon, and then we've got the developer for the project. So Camber Development is actually doing the project development and then handing the keys over to Amazon. VHB, we are doing a number of things: civil, site, traffic, and environmental. We also have Drummond Woodsum as the counsel for the project. Adam's here. And then the architect is CISO. CISO works a lot with Amazon on these types of facilities. Project updates since we last met. We met back on April 28th to do a informational pre-application review with the board. Since that time, we've also had a formal Maine DOT scoping meeting that took place here in this building on May 26th, where we went through the very detailed aspects of the traffic movement permit and some of the improvements that we'll be putting up onto the display tonight. We also had a meeting with the Sydney Planning Board. That was last week on Monday, and then we have a upcoming meeting with them next Monday. So that would be their preliminary meeting, and then hopefully a final meeting with Sydney coming up. And then as part of this process, we've of course met with city staff. We've gotten memos from the fire department, city engineer, and the water district that are part of the findings of fact that have been drafted for the project. So the presentation tonight has a number of things that we'll walk through: project benefits and overview, the permitting process, so you can see where we're at. This is not obviously the only permit for the project. There's quite a few. Existing site conditions, environmental consideration, utilities, the stormwater design, landscape design, traffic, and then the building. So this next slide that comes up here, we color-coded this to give a general idea of how the facility is going to function. As Jonathan mentioned, this is a 159,000 square foot building. It's a last mile facility, meaning that trucks come in, product gets put onto vans, and those vans go out to deliver that product to the community that's ordered through Amazon. So those trucks are coming in from warehouses in Massachusetts and Connecticut. They come via 95, enter this facility immediately there at the interchange at 124, coming down Trapton Road onto Junction into that green driveway on the north side of the facility. That green driveway provides access to 20 truck spaces on the back side of the facility, 15 of which are loading docks on that backside. And then there is a employee parking lot that you can see there in blue. And then the pink area to the south of the facility is where the vans that deliver product will be parked and then queuing and loading at the south edge of the building. The building on that south edge has a canopy over the top to allow that product to come in and then be distributed out under cover. As mentioned here, it's right there at exit 124, and we're targeting a 2027 opening date. So some of the aspects of the project: this is a site that's been zoned this way for quite some time with the intention and desire to have a industrial use. So it meets that category in the commercial district zone. So the idea behind some of the investment at Exit 124 and the zoning of these parcels back in the late 80s was to be able to promote this type of development. It's been under that zone since 1987. And then, like I mentioned, in 2018, the interchange on 95 was put in to further promote the exact connection to the interstate. The project will support approximately 150 to 200 full and part-time jobs, and certainly provides expansion to the local tax base, providing municipal tax revenue. Some of the infrastructure enhancements as part of the project, even though it's not an aspect of the traffic movement permit, the desire that we've heard from folks both here in the Waterville process and in the Sydney process was not just to pave a little bit of Junction Road, but to pave the whole length into Sydney. So really from Trafton Road all the way down to Town Farm Road, the project will pave that to improve that, that connection. And then there's an extension of water along Trafton Road and three-phase power. I'll show you that in a moment. And then as far as environmental impacts, we've really focused the development in an area of developed field, and I'll show you that in more detail, so that we limited any areas that haven't been previously disturbed. We really focused it on the field area that is regularly cultivated. So permitting process, we are in front of you tonight for final review. And like I mentioned, Sydney, we have a review coming up on the 15th for their final review process. This project requires we go in front of the main DEP for site location of development. It's over 3 acres of impervious area. We made that application on April 24th. It was accepted by the DEP for processing on May 15th. As part of that, there's a Natural Resources Protection Act. And then ultimately, there's also what they call the Main Construction General Permit that we'll be going through as part of the erosion and sediment control and contractor requirements for the site. Because of the wetland impacts, we also have a Army Corps of Engineer component. So an individual permit went into the Corps. That's being processed as well. That's typically a simultaneous review with the DEP. They've attended those meetings jointly, the DEP and the Corps together, to look at this, and they've also met us in the field to do wetlands evaluation certification. And then there's a traffic movement permit. Of course, this project does generate traffic, and it has a permit that was submitted to the DOT. Scoping meeting held on May 26th. We're going through that process right now with the DOT and hope to get that permit issued in the coming couple weeks. And then building permits, that's a future phase, probably Q3 of this year. As a site overview, it's a approximately 47-acre parcel that straddles the Sydney-Waterville line at the corner of Junction Road and Trafton Road. In Waterville, it's the contract zoning district, commercial district zone. In Sydney, it's the general district. Both allow this type of use that has been proposed on those parcels in those towns. So the existing conditions, like I mentioned, regularly maintained field. It's important to be able to recognize that the development is been almost entirely focused on the area that's been previously cleared. So there's very little clearing associated with this. And I have a few photos here just to show what it looks like present day. It's a little slow on regenerating, but you can see the intersection there and in the field areas. So site layout, I already talked a little bit about how the site functions. We went through the Waterville requirements for both use and dimensional requirements, and it meets all of those. It far exceeds most of those dimensional requirements, so all of them are met and exceeded. Environmental considerations. It's a little bit hard to see on this figure, but basically the overlay of the site development over the field area, you can kind of see it. The areas in yellow are wetland fill. So wetlands, as classified on this type of site, fall into several categories. There's open water wetlands and streams. There's a stream on that northeast corner of the site that's beaver impounded, and there's some beaver activity up there with that cross culvert across Trafton Road. There's also a stream on the southwest corner of the site that heads south and east. And those streams, we have largely, or we fully avoided them and stayed out of their DEP required setbacks for the northeast corner one, wetlands of special significance area. So we're fully outside of that zone for our impacts. And the areas that we do impact, 2.67 acres of wetland fill, are meadow wetlands that are within that cultivated field. For somebody like myself, I'd have a hard time even being able to tell the difference between that and the areas of grass. It's really comes down to the hydric soils and the nature of the plants that wetland scientists are able to determine with the Corps and DEP. But like we mentioned, there is wetland impacts that are noted here within that field area, and compensatory mitigation will be part of that. So in lieu fee payment will be made by Amazon to Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to be able to use for future wetland creation in other areas. A noise study was conducted and submitted as part of the application. That noise study looks at the city's ordinance relative to sound levels at nearest residences. We're below those limits. In fact, the background noise of 95 is probably largely comparable to those residents to what type of noise they will receive from this facility. Those residents are quite a ways from the facility, but doing the analysis and looking at the buffering, it falls below that threshold category of 45 decibels that Waterville has established for the noise ordinance. And then, as I go to the next slide here, utilities. There is a public water extension that'll be a service both to this project and to other projects that may choose to take public water along Trafton Road. 3,100 feet of new water main. It's probably a 12-inch line. We've been coordinating that, and we'll be working through that process of installing that line and coordinating with the DOT on Trafton Road. And then Central Maine Power will be extending three-phase power. It's currently just single-phase in this area. That three-phase power will also come from that West River Road area where it currently terminates and extend 4,200 feet up to Junction Road and then down Junction Road to service the facility. Wastewater disposal, you can see in green here. We are proposing a subsurface wastewater disposal area on the west side of the warehouse building. The closest sewer is quite a ways away up 8 Rod Road and higher in elevation. So this is the more the way to that we've looked at wastewater disposal on this site because it is quite a ways to be able to connect to the closest sewer line. And then natural gas, we'd be taking a service from Summit Natural Gas, which is right there on Trafton Road. And telecommunication extensions will just be by the carriers on that CMP infrastructure. Stormwater, which is an incredibly important aspect of a site like this, needs to be managed under the DEP's most strict standards for site law in Chapter 500. Includes things like what they call the basic, general, and flooding standards. Basic standards are erosion and sediment controls. General standards are the finished water quality. So once the facility is in service, how are you treating the water over its lifetime to make sure that that water quality is meeting the DEP's thresholds? And then a flooding standard, which means in the post-development condition, the water that's being sent off the site can't exceed the pre-development condition under various design storms, the 2, 10, and 25-year, 24-hour storms. So to manage that on a facility like this, you do need to have some form of detention, and then we're doing water quality filters on each one of those detention areas. So what you see in blue, there's a couple north of the site, north of the building, I should say, and then one large one in the middle and another blue area to the south of that. Those are subsurface storage facilities, so they're below the pavement. Following those, it'll go through a water quality filter and then out to the resource. One surface feature that we have is a under-drained soil filter on the very south portion of the site, and I'll show you that in a moment. So we have a strategy that really looks at the hydrology across the site in the existing condition and to say, okay, well, where does the water flow over the land right now? We don't want that the water flows over the land in the pre-development condition and matching that to the post. So we've broken this up, looking at the natural condition. There's 3 drainage points at the property line. The drainage point in the northeast corner is, again, at that beaver impoundment. In the central area on the east side of the site, it's from those field wetlands heading to the property line, and that converges just off page with drainage point 1, and then eventually down to drainage point 3, which is the stream on the south. We've matched more or less the same contributing area in each of those 3 locations for our discharge points, so that in the 2, 10, and 25-year storm, we end up with a near or lower base flow condition. So we're always lower than the pre-development condition, but we also maintain the hydrology. In other words, we're not just sending all the water to one spot and not to another. The other thing to consider is that soil filter on the southern portion of the site in Sydney, just below the parking lot. That's about a 2-foot depression, and I put a similar picture right there. We do have a chain link fence that is at the base of the facility there, but it's not a wet pond. It's mostly dry, and it's only a couple feet shallow, so it's not so much of a concern for exposure from that perspective. Landscape design, we've got a mix of trees that we're proposing, up to 100-plus trees along that frontage of Junction Road, and then trying to maintain the existing trees that line Trafton Road. There's a tree stand up there between Trafton and the facility. And then on the south, there's wetlands and some trees, and it continues this. We didn't have more survey below that, but basically, we're going to have trees along the edge. We did hear a concern about having certain species of oak that have some susceptibility to infestation, so we've changed those out to disease-resistant American elm and a black tupelo species of plants or trees in lieu of those oak, per the request of the board in a previous meeting. And then traffic. Certainly, a number of questions have come up in previous meetings about the traffic from the facility. One key thing to note in the overall distribution of where traffic goes to and comes from, 83% is forecast to come off of the highway or go to the highway for this facility. So 17% hits the local roadway distribution. That means that really most of the traffic is there within that quarter mile at the interchange to the site. The other traffic distribution, like we said, it's 8% heading out Trafton Road to the west toward Oakland, 9% heading in toward Waterville on Trafton, but most of the traffic to and from the highway. All of the tractor trailers are going to be to and from the highway. None of those should be going out onto the local roads. And then in all cases, the level of service A during peak hours was maintained. This has a lot of capacity, and it was built for that. So even in the post-development condition, we're still at a level of service A on all of our study area. But with that, we meet with the DOT, of course, and go over various things like, are there certain areas of concern, high crash locations, areas where traffic is not moving as desired. And we came up with a number of things that we feel are going to be improvements to the site and nearby to the site. Certainly an overhead lighting configuration at Junction and Trafton to be able to manage the traffic that's going to go through that intersection. But also an all-way stop at Trafton and West River Road. I'll show you a diagram of that. Currently, it's just a single-way stop, so where Trafton meets West River Road, you stop, but West River Road, north and south, is a through road without a stop. We're going to propose a 3-way stop there. And then we're going to provide contribution for brush clearing. The high crash locations are primarily related to deer crossings, both on the highway and on Trafton Road. So the DOT takes in a contribution to help with their funds for clearing back their right-of-ways and trying to keep it more visually clear and to keep deer from being right along the edge. They, of course, still cross, but it gives a lesser likelihood of them hanging right next to the edge of the road. And then we're going to pave Junction Road between Trafton and Town Farm Road. There's also some signage-related improvements that are being discussed and negotiated with the DOT, along with some enhancements at the interchange for some of their control systems. Junction Road at Trafton, the figure on the left, has to be widened out to accommodate the tractor-trailer movements. We will also have, as you're heading north on Junction at that intersection, a 2-leg intersection, so left and a through right lane dedication. So there's going to be improvements there that relate to the pavement and the widening to allow access to this, but also a lighting configuration for overhead lights to provide some visibility at that intersection. And I mentioned Trafton and West River Road that would have a 3-way flashing stop configuration to be able to provide some safety improvements there, because it's a 45 going through north and south on West River Road currently. Then building appearance. Yeah, I can certainly, we also have the traffic engineer here if there's any questions about that process. Building appearance, the little key on the lower left shows the vantage point there, that arrow kind of pointing in. This is looking at the northwest corner of the building from Junction Road, kind of looking in toward the facility. This is a little bit cold relative to the lack of vegetation. There will be trees, of course, along the roadway, but just wanted to give you the visual appearance of the building itself. It's pretty simple. It's a painted concrete panel finish, approximately 30 feet high. The finished floor of the building is about 8 feet lower in elevation than Trafton and Junction, so it is lower and it doesn't have that prominence of the intersection setback quite a ways. And then there's one more slide here that shows the vantage point looking up from the, call it south and west, up toward the southwest corner of the building. And that's where that canopy is for loading out the vans. So that's the visual appearance of that south facade of the building. And with that, that concludes our presentation, but we certainly are welcome to, or certainly welcome any questions you have. I'm going to go back to any slides and bring up anybody who might be more of an expert than me on a particular topic.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. And you may not know that Waterville is the elm city, so I like seeing the elm trees. That's a nice coincidence. Are there any questions that you guys have about all of the conditions that have already been placed on the findings and facts by various groups, the city engineer, the fire department, the water district?
I think the only question we had was, there's a request, which makes sense, to pave with the heavy-duty pavement section for Junction Road. We would look to do that applied to the areas where we're going to have that heavy truck traffic, but then we would request to utilize the city's standard paving requirement elsewhere, and then similarly in Sydney for that roadway, as no tractor trailers are.
Do you know
proposed
what the
to-
road standards are in Sydney?
It was brought up in our latest meeting. I think they just updated them, and I think
Yeah.
they were going to send them over. I don't have them.
Okay, because Sydney was actually saying they thought that their road standards were more stringent than ours. So,
I'll jump in here. Andy,
yeah.
I'll jump up here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Andy sent us an email clarifying a question on that, so thank you for coordinating that, Ann.
Yep.
And we are good with the condition as written.
Okay,
He
great.
clarified what the city standards are in terms of pavement
Yep.
sections, and everywhere has different definitions of what heavy duty means,
Yeah.
but understood what Waterville means, and we're accepting of it.
Okay, perfect. Well, with that, I'll open it up to the board if there are any questions.
I'd love to hear. I would just love to hear more about the traffic pattern improvement that you referenced, if possible.
Would you like to hear more about at West River in Junction?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me flip back to that slide. And Jason, you can feel free to make your way up if. This is just a little bit slow, so appreciate the patience. I think it's the next one. It'll go in a second. There we go. So, yeah, Jason can speak a little bit to how the determination was made and what the ultimate condition is of that intersection.
Yeah, thank you again. My name is Jason Brady. I work as a traffic engineer with VHB. The proposed configuration of the intersection, that was done because of certain crash patterns that had developed. And this is a successful mitigation that Maine DOT has used in many locations before. I mean, as you mentioned, it's a bit of a sketchy intersection, especially with the high speeds. So part of the proposal is to provide a stop condition for each of the approaches. based off from our traffic modeling, and the level of service is still much like the other intersections and interchanges, remains at a level of service A. So there isn't going to be, any sort of delay, noticeable delay. I mean, well, you will have to stop now, but as far as the overall, and that's based off from the relatively low volumes that are out there existing. So I mean, for the most part, I mean, you pull up and clear and then make your way through. So there isn't a significant amount of delay or queuing. I would also say that this is a concept, but this should be similar to what would ultimately be put in other configurations. We might go down to a single lane, which again would help reduce some of the perceived conflicts as you approach the intersection. But that can be determined and coordinated both with the city and Maine DOT.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is not the location of the flashing light that you mentioned, right? Is that down at the other end by Junction Road?
I think what might have been referenced was these are flashing stop signs. So I think they'll have like
okay.
a little solar panel, and they'll blink, which gives them additional
Got it. Okay.
perception for people,
Yeah,
especially at night.
because I was thinking traffic going at night, and I'm sure it's jet black in the middle of the night. So there is no flashing light elsewhere down towards Junction Road or the highway?
I'd have to go and look at what is existing there. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what there is for existing flashing beacons.
Yeah, there's none proposed. So
Okay.
the only flashing mechanism would be the actual integration of that
Yeah.
red LED around the perimeter of
Right.
each stop sign.
Thanks for clarifying.
Do you know if they're planning on reducing the speed on West River Road prior to the four-way stop? Was that discussed at all? It's 45 miles an hour there, so.
It is, and that's kind of a different Maine DOT process for reevaluating speed limits,
Okay.
but it wasn't considered right now. And I think the current Maine process, or you might be more familiar with some of the recent legislation that's come across the state on local control of speed limits, but that wasn't brought up as the part of this process.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I had one question about the Kennebec Water District had mentioned the possibility of waiving the future collection of customer contributions to the water main. Is that something you guys are open to?
It's, certainly something we're open to. We haven't been able to confirm as a team whether or not that's going to happen. I know it would be memorialized into that agreement, but we were not under the impression that had to be decided at this meeting. But it's certainly something that the team's open to considering.
And I don't know that it needs to be decided. I just wanted to mention it to see if that was something that you guys would be open to, as to not slow up future projects.
In all honesty, Amazon was planning on paying for it, and that was the first that we heard that they could get customer contributions from future development.
So that's why I wasn't sure if you guys were just like,
Right.
we
So
don't care.
I would say certainly open to it, but haven't decided as a team to confirm.
Okay.
Anybody else on the board? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could I get a show of hands of who is here to speak during the public comment section? Okay, great. Well, we will go ahead and start the public comment section. So I'll welcome you to come up and speak, whoever wants to go first.
Good evening. Planning board chairs, members of the planning board, members of the public, great to be with you. For the record, my name is Garvin Dunnigan, President and CEO of the Central Maine Growth Council. Our administrative offices are located at 50 Elm Street as well as 10 Water Street, right here in downtown Waterville, Maine. I'll keep my remarks generally concise, but also focused on a planning perspective this evening. I appear before you this evening to formally register our organization's support for the site plan and the associated project and the proposed development along Trafton Road corridor. Just a couple of quick notes. We really thank the planning board, but also the development team for the thoughtfulness leading up to this night in the assemblage of the team. We do urge the board to view this application as a culmination of really over 20-plus years of land use planning efforts. From a historical context perspective, one of many decades-long catalysts for this corridor's kind of spatial strategy was that 2018 commissioning of the I-95 exit 124 interchange that we keep hearing about. For those of you that were not involved in that process at the time, this project was funded jointly by MDOT, Trafton Road Properties, the City of Waterville, as well as was supported by a $1 million U.S. Economic Development Administration, or EDA, federal grant. This public-private initiative also leveraged millions of dollars in private capital. At the time, the U.S. EDA cited that interchange Trafton Road project as a national model for public-private partnerships, but also for economic development initiatives. So this infrastructure has established since then, and the planning prior to that, the carrying capacity to transform what is also a broader construct of land, over 900 acres of potential developable area, into Mid-Maine's premier logistics, innovation, and light manufacturing hub. Subsequently, the city also created a 136-acre TIF district, which this project is not seeking any incentives from. But it is a reflection of designation of a growth area, and it underscores trying to create the cultivation of business, of activity, of GDP. This is also empirically evidenced and aligned with land use characteristics, and having exceptional business occurring already on Trafton Road. There's over 200,000 square foot facility on site with light manufacturing on the east side of Trafton Road and West River. That's 100% occupied. And abutting sites have been in active planning to accommodate business growth. So that brings us to tonight's proposal. The applicant, as we know, is not seeking zoning amendments or variances or contract zone changes. Crucially, would add the application demonstrates really strong conformity with the recently updated 2025 City of Waterville Comprehensive Plan, as well as being cited in the region's Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or that's your CEDS document. As the board may be aware, the city deliberated and zoned this area for industrial use and commercial industrial uses. I would also point to, and likewise, the proposal directly fulfills Policy 10 in the comp plan, which recommends renewed efforts to expand employment through increased commercial and industrial activities on Trafton Road. Furthermore, your future land use and growth area maps specifically and explicitly designate this area a growth area, including these specific land parcels discussed tonight. So geographically, the site's immediate adjacent to the interstate, and its established light industrial land use characteristics really create a highly compelling, compatible node, excellent site suitability, and really an alignment in the intended land use characteristics, including conformity with your planning documents in front of you here tonight. So the spatial orientation naturally channelizes commercial transit away from residential areas, as we just saw. And moreover, the presence of natural gas infrastructure serves as a clear indicator of intent to support new, thoughtful development and a trajectory that this project actually accelerates alongside the planned extension of water and electricity from east to west down Trafton Road. So in summary, this site plan, this project, is truly a result of decades of pre-planning, economic thoughts, efforts by federal, state, and local partners. It harmonizes operational logistics and is aligned with municipal statutory objectives and ensures land use compatibility and conforms with really the community's economic viability and vision for the corridor as codified in that CEDS document. So just want to say thank you again for your time, for your service on the public process and the planning board, and appreciate your careful review of this application tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Kim Linloff. I'm a resident of Fairfield, but I'm the president and CEO of the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce. I also work for the Central Maine Growth Council on the side. For those, you may not recognize some of the people in the audience. Those who are on the Chamber or the Growth Council boards, please raise your hand. Or if you're engaged to one. We brought them all out. Or committee member, or, so I think maybe we'll spare you from each of us coming up individually and being here till 9 o'clock at night. There must be a game on somewhere, right? I think what Garvin was saying more eloquently than I'm going to is that this project checks all the boxes. It's using local contractors and subs whenever it can. It fits with the SEDS plan. I know this because I've been on the SEDS committee for 25 years. And I'm the one who gets to proofread it every year because I have more knowledge than the KV Cog staff because I've been around longer. It checks off the boxes for the City of Waterville's comprehensive plan. It's the exact sort of use we were looking at when Harry and team put together the plan for the Exit 124 to open this land up for this kind of responsible, thoughtful, right down to the tree species development. And I stand here saying that, you know, the Chamber, the business community fully supports this project. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
My name is Paul Urenick. I'm a resident of Waterville, 38 Pleasant Street. I'll be very brief because Garvin spoke very eloquently about why this should all. I'll just keep it very simple. I think it's a no-brainer. You know, I've been a resident of Waterville now for 10 years, and the 10 years I've lived here, I hear about, you know, property taxes, bringing a large employee here, this project checks all of those boxes. You know, quite honestly, I'm amazed that this developer is not coming in and is asking things of the city. You know, they're not asking for a TIF. They're extending three-phase power. They're extending water mains. You know, I just heard they're, you know, not asking for contributions to this. That's really unheard of. I've been in the development business for 40-plus years. I'm telling you, the city is getting a big package here with a big ribbon on it, and it would be, I can't even imagine why anybody would vote against this. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Hi, and thank you. Bruce White, Ward 7, former planning board member. And I would say if this was coming before me or before the board when I was on it, I would be very excited for it. No zoning changes, that's always a nice thing. And also I'd like to mention I'm here as a local resident. I'm not representing any organization. I am on the policy committee of the chamber. We look at bills, legislative bills and things, but here solely as a resident. The property, as Mr. Nail mentioned last meeting, that was a Wyandotte textile, you know, mill at one time. So obviously having a facility like this is a lot more environmentally friendly. I look back to way back 98, 28 years ago. I couldn't believe it when I was thinking about, you know, where I worked at Scott Paper, you know, the decline of industry jobs. And so an opportunity like this doesn't come before us very often. I think we should be grateful. Some things that were pointed out, the noise level, you know, that it meets or no issues there. The 150 to 200 employees, you know, I look at myself, I work part-time at the AYCC. If I was looking for another part-time job, I'd be looking there, you know. I know they have good benefits. One of the things that was pointed out previously was 60%, I believe the number is 60% of the Amazon sales are local vendors or businesses. That's a pretty big deal, as, you know, Chamber and other people would realize. So, also a big thing that as I was doing a little research about Amazon, how they encourage employees to volunteer. They, you know, and as I mentioned last meeting, the AYCC, Waterville Area Soup Kitchen, the Windsor Community Cupboard, Habitat for Humanity, and many others who always look for volunteers. The corporate staff frequently partner with regional food banks and participate in environmental cleanups and things like that. So that's another huge benefit, other than the other things that have been mentioned. And then lastly, they offer many grants to nonprofits. And so I believe that could be a big boost for many organizations. No idea what that would equate to, but just having that in the game plan would be big. So fully support it, and I wanted to show my support and advocate, and thank you all for what you do as planning board members.
Thank you, Bruce. Is there anybody else? Nope. Okay, then we will go ahead and close out public comment. So I'd like to go ahead and read through the findings and facts, and then we can kind of go into a board deliberation. I don't actually have a copy of it. Could I borrow this?
I have a backup copy.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm going to need somebody from the development team to stand up and answer the questions that I'm about to ask. And they will all be you will answer either yes or no. I'll give you a hint. You want to say true. Or, yeah, true or false, not yes or no. So.
You might need a copy as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne. Number one, the development will not result in undue water or air pollution on or off-site.
True.
Number two, sufficient water is available for the reasonable foreseeable needs of the development, including but not limited to potable water and fire control water.
True.
Number three, the development will not cause unreasonable soil erosion or reduction in the capacity of the land to hold water.
True.
Number four, the development will not cause unreasonable highway or public road congestion or unsafe conditions with respect to use of the highways or public roads existing or proposed both on and off-site.
True.
Number five, the development will provide for adequate solid waste disposal.
True.
Number six, the development will not cause an unreasonable burden on the ability of the municipality to dispose of sewage.
True.
Number seven, the development will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, or rare and irreplaceable natural areas, or any public rights for physical or visual access to shoreline.
True.
Number eight, the development is in conformance with zoning.
True.
Number nine, the developer has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the above stated standards.
True.
Thank you. And all of those conditions that we mentioned are then listed from the fire, the city engineer, and the water district. Are there any additional comments or concerns from the board? Any additional conditions that anybody wants to propose for this development? Okay. Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the findings and facts with the listed conditions.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have
Good
a
luck with the
evening.
project.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
So you'll come back with a a site plan with, for the signatures?
I have a copy right now, but I didn't know if you wanted to have conditions put onto it.
I don't know that you need to put all of the conditions on here.
It has a title block for Waterville and it has a title block for Sydney. And it's the overall site plan, so it's like that L2 sheet that has, or C2 sheet that has the whole site. So it's up to you. I could bring it in if you'd like.
Why don't we sign it? If we need to do it again, we can.
Yeah.
We'll sign it tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just grab it. I'll be right back.
Ben, do you want to just initial? Yeah, any in favors? Yes.
I emailed Tom Mail, and it's not really wanted to care, but he just doesn't.
I'm glad he's right.
Dave, just initial.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Last up is SDG Investors LLC, who is requesting final plan review for a 3-unit apartment building at 3 Crawford Street. This review is in accordance with Article 7 of the Site Plan Review Ordinance, which explains how the planning board reviews and makes decisions on smaller development projects like minor subdivisions or certain site plan applications.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Allen from AE Hudson Engineers, and we're representing SDG. This is a much smaller project than the one you just handled. This is a 3-plex building going on a lot that has an existing, one existing home on it now. And this is under the multifamily development. I was here 2 or 3 meetings ago with the same plan. This one looks a little bit different because since the last meeting, we've met on site and I've worked with the developer to do some site investigations, and the hillside that's on the sort of the right-hand side of this lot is all ledge. And so rather than blast through ledge and add a lot of cost to the property, we've decided to just rotate the building about 90 degrees or 100 degrees to allow the building to sit on the site easier. It'll still be 3 units, 3 that'll add to the existing building for a total of 4 on the site. We have the total site is about 0.66 acres, 2/3 of an acre, and we could have 5 or 6 homes on there under the multifamily if we wanted to, or if we were able to fit them in. This is really the best fit and probably will complete the development on this property just due to the topography being very, very unforgiving. So we also had 8 parking spaces for the 3 units. We've now reduced that to 6 parking spaces for 3 units, so that's 2 per unit, which is still, should be ample. And yeah, that's really the only change. We have letters from water, sewer, the fire department that are all in agreement with this design. And the fire department did review it after we rotated it around to this present configuration, and we're happy with that. They were happy with that. So I think that's about all I have. We did look at traffic. It'll generate 3 new trips per peak hour, so it's a insignificant change onto Drummond Avenue.
Yep.
I'm sorry, onto Crawford. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And there were conditions, assuming you reviewed those and they're all acceptable?
Yes.
No concerns? Okay. Any questions from anyone on the board?
Yeah, I have a question about the entrance into that parking area and the fact that there's quite a bit of pavement sitting in the right-of-way in addition to the driveway part that brings you in and out. Does that bring up any complications with grading and drainage, or is it all pretty straightforward? It's a pretty flat site.
Yeah, it's a pretty flat site. Actually, this is an interesting site because underneath the public right-of-way, beside the road, this is the edge of Crawford here, between there and the property line, which is here, there's a 4-foot culvert. Apparently, sometime in the past, before it was not kosher to do this, there's a small stream that runs into this. That stream is now, or has been captured in the past into a 4-foot culvert that runs through that area and then daylights on the other side of Hazelwood Street. And so it's, this will be paving over the top of that. It'll protect it some, but we acknowledge that it is in the public right-of-way, so if there were a problem with that culvert, they would have to dig that up. That is a risk that they were willing to take because it's the only way to develop this. That culvert also goes under the existing driveway that you see over to the home that's there now. So,
Yep.
yeah, there's no way to get to access the property without crossing this large culvert.
Who is responsible for maintaining that culvert?
It would be Public Works Department, I believe.
Okay.
It's a part of the storm drain system for the community.
Yep. Okay.
I also had a question. Just, I'm assuming there's so much pavement there to add in space for like dumpsters and snow removal and things like that.
Well, this one's actually going to be just the purple bags to put out on the curb, so we don't have a dumpster there.
Yeah.
The little wings on the side are so somebody can back out of a parking space and have a place to back before they turn out, and preferably drive onto the street rather than back onto the street. You know, a lot of times in a situation like this, you would extend the pavement all the way to the street. In this instance, I wanted to create grassed islands so people would be encouraged to drive onto the street rather than back, just for safety.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Anybody from the public?
Well, let me introduce my friend. This is Nathan Poley, who's our intern this summer. He's studying civil engineering at the University of Maine, and so he might, hopefully will be able to come back and do this.
Great.
In a couple of years.
Yeah, welcome.
So
you make him present next time? Towards the end of the summer, maybe?
Yeah, toward the end of the summer. I'll wait till I get an Amazon, and then it's all yours, bud.
All right. Well, I'm going to borrow this, and since we've already been through this once tonight, I am just going to read the findings and facts by number only. So,
Do you have a copy?
I do.
Great. Number 1.
True.
Number 2.
True.
Number 3.
True.
Number 4.
True.
Number 5.
True.
Number 6.
True.
Number 7.
True.
Number 8.
True.
And number 9.
True as well.
And then, as I stated before, there's a number of conditions here. Anybody from the board have any other conditions that they wish to add? No? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the findings and facts.
I'll make the motion. Sorry.
All those in favor? All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And motion to adjourn? All right.